Hey YouTube, I don't know if you can see me properly. I think you can. I've got my phone balanced against my water bottle to see if it's going to work. I can see the outline of my face in the camera, but if it looks weird, then I'm sorry. Haven't posted in a very long time. The pandemic has made me a bit antisocial, and the thing about the whole filming thing, the fact that I can't really see whether I'm in profile on the screen and how I look, and if I get excited about books and end up just jumping around and not really being obviously in the camera, then I just think I all look messy compared to a lot of other people's booktube channels. And also the pandemic, I've been reading a lot, but I just haven't wanted to film, and then I just haven't done it, and then I've been doing my podcast, which has been on the same name, Zobrello's Booktube podcast. Find it on your podcast apps or websites, wherever you go for your podcasts. But I wanted to come back and do something. I've been doing wrap-ups and book reviews on my podcast. I've tried to do wrap-ups on here, but when I do the catch-ups for books I've read over the last say 3 months, it just gets too long and it takes ages to upload, and then it doesn't upload and it's a nightmare. So there we go, it's worth a try just doing this. What I thought of is, I know what I can do for an introductory video for the first time in how long. I'll do a book tag, and I literally was just thinking about the other day, and I just saw a book tag I'd never seen before on someone's YouTube channel. I think it was started by Zoe's All Booked, apparently, who I follow and is very good. It's been done by other people, and although I'm not really part of the community, I'd like to be more part of the community, but I'm not really recognised part of the community and not really followed by people. I would like to join in too and enjoy this discussion based thing. So here we go, the 6 questions to get through, and I'm going to go through the questions quickly now. It hopefully won't be too long this time, and it's a good introduction video after how long. I'd like to get the channel back up and running. I'm moving back to uni in 2 weeks and a few days. I'm terrified about being blind in a big city, in uni, doing a theatre degree. It freaked me out, but I'm also so excited to live on my own again, not have to share with my parents, and have my freedom back and all of that. So I just want to enjoy talking about books for a while, and I hope that maybe by being on this channel more often, I might be able to do that, as well as my podcast, and maybe have more diverse content here. So here we go. This is the Nope trope tag, and for anyone who's not a regular reader, or this channel is about books, but for anyone who doesn't know the terminology, I didn't. Probably about a year ago, I had no idea what a trope was. Probably, before Christmas, I had no idea. A trope is a theme in a book, or a kind of thing that regularly happens, or a plot line. So it's Nope trope. These are sort of things that are related to plots in books. So question number 1 is, name a book you heard great things about and expected to love it, but hated it. And I'm going to say one that I'm currently 1 chapter from finishing, finally. I think I've been pottering on with it since the beginning of August, and that's been 3 weeks ago. That was 3 weeks ago I started this book. So I'm going to have to go with The Memory Police by Yoko Ogawa. I kept hearing amazing things about this book. It's about people on this island who are just living their lives, and things disappear from them and they forget. So a bird will go from the sky, and flowers will fall from the bushes and get washed away, and books get burned. All kinds of different things happen in this world, and they forget what those books are, or those items are, or those people are. People go missing, all kinds of things go missing, and it follows this novelist girl and a couple of her friends, and how she deals with this and this island. And I thought, sounds very dystopian, and really sounds good. It's so hard to read. I don't know if it's maybe that I'm not clever enough to read it, or maybe it's just a genre or a very specific style that I haven't tapped into. I don't really know. It was translated in Japanese, but I don't think that's because of it. I think it's just the actual style of the work. The girl hasn't got a name. She's just me, and then the only time people refer to her as like young lady. There's an old man she's friends with, and her editor, who's called literally just R, the letter R, and I'm just like, characters don't need to have names, but there's just not very much connection to the characters. You don't really feel for them. I mean, yes, there definitely are feelings discussed and the events are discussed, but there's almost a bit of a detachment there, and I just found it really hard going. I wanted to be really thrilled and thrown into this, and okay, I'm getting to the end of it now, so technically I haven't finished it, and there were some chapters I was like, oh, I actually do want to know what happens now, but like, those are the occasional chapters which I find interesting, but like, still, that's not, you know, that doesn't mean that, I don't know what I'm trying to say. I just find I like it up to a point. I don't hate it. I do think the concept's good. There are parts of it that I find relatively interesting. There are small plot lines that go, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? But like, it's still, when I come back to it, even though I want to read a bit more of it, I'm still like, how am I going to get through this? And even though it's something I'm looking forward to learning about, it's just hard going, and I needed it to be a bit more page turning. I think it's very magically written, it was very cleverly done, and I really think it was a very masterpiece, a huge masterpiece of writing. But for me, I don't know if it's right now in my current state of mind, which is a bit over the place. I don't know if that's just the situation or what it is, but I just struggled with that one a bit. So that's one that I would say. The other books I can think of are like books that I didn't really hear on YouTube, or didn't really hear about from the book community, so I can't really include those things. So I'll move on to number 2. Name a series where you can't pick your favourite book. Oh my gosh, that's a hard one. Okay. The Selection series by Kira Cass, that's a very well-known series. I loved the 3 books about America and her trial to be picked as queen, or, she doesn't want to be picked as queen. It's set in this place where you're put in a caste system, so 1 is like you're rich and like you can do what you want, and like 5 is like, 8 is like homeless, 6 is like servant, 7 is like in a home but like begging, 8 is like homeless. In America was 5, she was like a performer, so she's like entertaining the people and stuff, and the prince comes of age, and all the girls are picked randomly to go and choose to marry him, and there's a competition, and she doesn't want to do it, but someone puts her name in there and she's picked, and she's like, great, I don't want to be doing this at all. So it's really difficult for her. She doesn't want to be there, but I really enjoyed the books where she was competing against the other girls and what happened to her there, and how she wants to change the community that she lives in. And then I also loved the next 2 books, which were about her daughter. I couldn't pick one from that. Another one I would say I loved is like the Effigies series by Sarah Rawley. I loved that series. It's about this girl called Maya, I can't remember how it's pronounced. She lives in this normal schoolgirl, basically. Her parents died, her sister died in the fire. She's a normal schoolgirl. She suddenly realizes that she is the next effigy, and the effigies like 4 celebrity kind of people, but they have like godly powers almost. One girl can like shift the earth, and one girl can like fly, one girl can like freeze ice and things like that, like freeze water into ice and like make the air go cold, and one girl can like fly in the air and do all kinds of things, and she realizes that like the woman who before her was like the longest living effigy ever has died, and she is the next one. She's like, I'm 16, I've just lost my parents, I'm really not in this state of mind to be a superhero / celebrity, like, superstar. And she deals with that, and her bond with the other 3 girls who are very different with their lives and their different ambitions for themselves and different cultures. There's a lot of multicultural. Maya herself, I think, is half Jamaican. Victoria, who's the heir, or Lake, who's the heir effigy, is British and Nigerian. Cheirin is Canadian and Korean. She's the earth effigy. And Belle is the water effigy or the ice effigy, and she's French. So I really love the diversity. I love everything, and like I know I love the series. And I emailed the author I loved it that much and told her how much it meant to me, and she responded, and I screamed at 5 a.m. about that. So there we go. I think with me is I actually tend to start a series and then don't realise the sequels will come out and don't finish it, or I do realise and I'm like, oh, I need to finish that at some point. Now if you listen to my podcast, I've got a random generator on my phone. It's an app called Random. It's just generator, and I add like every single book I want to read, whether I hear it on YouTube, whether I see it on Goodreads. Rather than making a Goodreads TBR or to be read list, I choose books like any books I hear about from anyone or anywhere, book series I haven't finished, book series I want to start, standalones of various genres, books that sound daunting to me but sound interesting, all kinds of books, and then I pick like 2 or 3 and choose from them. And you know, there are a lot of series I've started or books that have come out like this year, fantasy things that I've started, and things which I haven't finished yet. Another one I mentioned for this one is the Did I Mention I Love You trilogy by Estelle Mascami, or Mascami. And this is a contemporary trilogy about a girl who, her dad divorces her mum and they separate, and Eden, the girl, was like mad at her dad for just ditching her when she's like 10, I think, and suddenly gets a call from her stepmom saying, oh, we'd love to have you again and stay in touch with you more, and she comes over to California for the summer and falls for her stepbrother, who is very troubled, has alcohol issues, substance abuse, all kinds of negative things going on with him. And you know, it's very, very good. There's 3 books, and I didn't get sick of it. Just dealing with her journey growing up and her family and her friends and her life as she changes. I think that's just a really good series. Number 3, name a book that has a pretty cover that was boring as hell. As you probably know, I'm visually impaired, so I don't know what covers look pretty. But I occasionally get people to describe covers to me. So 2 I could think of, which I think have pretty covers, and I could be wrong. Everyone's probably got different opinions of that anyway. Is Songs for the Deep by Kelly. I don't know her last name. Kelly. I don't remember her name. Oh my gosh, I should have checked this first. Kelly something. I should check that. But yeah, Songs for the Deep, and it's about this. I thought it'd be really great. I thought it'd be about sirens. It's about this girl called Moira. She lives on an island. She's lost her father, who was like an adventurer or like a researcher into the island. Sirens live underwater by the island. She's got a best friend who's a lighthouse keeper, and I thought it'd be more about sirens, but it's more about like protecting the hunting of sirens and also the death of local people that have died, and sirens are getting the blame, and Moira's like, no, I don't want sirens to get the blame. It was okay, but it was very slow. The romance was like so slow burn, they shouldn't have been there, and I just struggle with that. The other one I can think of, probably Memory Police, let's face it. And the other one I can think of is what's it called? Oh my gosh, The Kingdom of Back by Marie Lu. I love Marie Lu. Actually, the Legend trilogy is another trilogy I probably couldn't pick a book from. Personally, you know, that I love most, or that I prefer out the series. I have read that whole series. But this one was following Mozart's older sister and her Mozart as they grew up, as they toured around, as she realised that she as a girl could not do the same things as Mozart as a boy would be able to do, like become a composer, even though she was, if not more, equally as talented as her brother and older than him and learnt before him. So, you know, it dealt with that, and it was more about their journey travelling, but there was a small magical undertone of like them inventing this place and this fairy boy coming to them and making them do little quests in the night. And it wasn't a full-on fantasy, but it wasn't a full-on historical fiction, and I think it was too... I did not enjoy it, but I just didn't quite feel it. I didn't feel the love for it, you know. Number 4, name a book that gave you a book hangover. I think that means a book you loved so much you could stop thinking about it. The Effigy series was like that. I finished it. I was like, what? 3 books are over? What am I going to do now? I love this series. I love all the characters. I want to know how they deal with what they've been through. They've been through a lot. I want to know how they stay friends and the things they do together and how they communicate with each other after what happens and the bonds they have, the people they stay in touch with, the people they don't stay in touch with, you know. Like, I wanted more. I finished it. I sat there and I just, like, sort of went, oh my god, it's over. What am I going to do? Also, another one is The Sisters Grimm by Mena van Praag. I absolutely adored that book. It's a beautiful fairy tale Grimm brothers were telling, and I finished it and I was like, what am I going to do now? I'm in height of lockdown. I fell in love with these girls, this story, their sisterhood, and I need more, and there's no more coming ever. And I think that just broke my heart a little bit. Number 5, name a book that took you a while to get into, but you ended up loving. I mean, Memory Police is a book that I found hard to read, but I didn't necessarily fall in love with, but I don't mind it. Incendiary by Zoraida Cordova, I found maybe slightly not hard to get into. It took me a while. I think I wasn't in the right place at the time for reading a fantasy, and as time went, I loved it, but I think that was quite quick that I got into that one. I think it was just at first there was quite a long prologue and bits and pieces I was a bit like, oh, maybe not, but actually I did love that in the end. And this one is the one, The Girl and the Stars by Mark Lawrence. This one is about the Incendiary is about, like, Spanish Revolution, and I did really Inquisition. I did enjoy that one. This one, The Girl and the Stars by Mark Lawrence, is about this ice kingdom and how children get thrown down a hole in the ground when they get old enough, if they apparently are not good enough or strong enough to live on the ice. And Yaz goes down in this hole where the lost children go because her brother is sent down. She goes to rescue him even though she doesn't get sent down there because she's powerful. And it took me a long time, but I did enjoy it. And last one, favourite or least favourite tropes. Favourite would be like magic school or fairy tale retelling or folklore or cultures from around the world. And possibly things that I don't like would be more like a lot of war, that kind of thing. So that's the end really of that discussion, and hopefully you enjoy listening, and speak to you soon.